Don't forget your name and teacher code on the back. Check to make sure that your paper is the correct direction. Then you'll use a circle shape to trace around to create your moon. It doesn't have to be quite in the middle. It can be off to a side a little bit if you choose. Carefully trace around that. Then near the bottom, using a nice spread out hand, you'll know about how high to draw your horizon line. That is where the ground and the sky touch. Then you'll start adding some paint, and the first color that you create, you only want to add the teeny tiniest amount of blue to your white, and you can mix this inside of an empty spot in your egg carton. Look at how little amount of blue that is, because you want it to be an extremely light blue, almost just barely different than the white. And then once you get the color, you all can share from the same little spot in your egg carton if you would like. And then carefully paint around inside of the circle. Really take your time so it keeps that circular shape. There's no need to rinse your brush for the next step because all you're doing is making that blue color a little bit darker. So this time you're going to add a little bit more blue, and it should be just a slight change. You might want to make sure that your other table friends are ready for you to switch the color before you do this if you're sharing that one color. And very carefully go around the outside of the circle. Once again, taking your time so it stays looking like a circle. Then go ahead and repeat this process. Remember, you don't have to rinse your brush because you're just making that blue color a little bit darker each time. And you may want to wait for your table friends if you're all using the same color of blue. Very, very carefully paint around that circle shape. After you have gone around your circle 2 times with 2 different colored blues, then you're going to very thoroughly rinse your brush. Kind of stamping your brush or gently pushing it to the bottom of your bucket will help get the paint out, and then get all that extra water and paint out. The reason we're rinsing is because we want to get that extra white out of our brush, and then we're going to take the plain blue and you're going to go in a circular painting motion and paint all the rest of your sky in blue. It's really important to keep going in that kind of circular type motion, because then if you see your brush strokes, it looks so much nicer and looks like the moon kind of radiating outward. When the sky is complete, rinse your brush very thoroughly. Once again, remember you can kind of gently push your brush to the bottom of your bucket and then drying it very well with a paper towel. You'll use just the plain green to start and paint all of your ground green very carefully. I've painted all the grass area. I like to add some pops of yellow for different colors of grass. So just taking my brush, dipping into the yellow, and putting some swipes of yellow across my green paint that's still wet. Then when you're done, you can flip your brush over and use the bottom of your brush to add some texture of grass. So we're going to add blades of grass by flipping our brush over, just adding some kind of quick swipes going upward to add that grass. It looks really neat. Just remember to wipe off the end of your paintbrush when you are done. Then be sure to grab a large piece of cardboard. Some of them are white on one side. It is not a placemat. It's actually a little thicker. It's a cardboard piece. Slide it underneath and then walk it to the drying rack and carefully slide it onto the rack. Remember your name on your paper, kind of small in case you need to use both sides of your paper. And we're using the majority of our paper, so you really want to start close to the top so that your giraffe is relatively tall. And you'll start by making a sideways U shape with the under part being a little bit longer just to show where the chin is going to be. Then you'll create the horns by creating straight lines that are next to each other. Don't make these too tiny, otherwise they'll be kind of tricky to cut out later. When you add your ear, it can go towards kind of pointing back or up or down. It's up to you. Your giraffe's moving, so kind of imagine how your giraffe's ears might be. Then go ahead and add your face. I'm just going to add a few curved lines for the eyes and mouth and nose. Next, we will add the neck by creating two slightly curved lines. And I'm not drawing quite halfway down my paper, but pretty close because I want my neck to be pretty long. So two slightly curved lines, one is just underneath the chin, and I am checking to make sure it's at least 2 fingers wide because I don't want it to be too skinny. Then make kind of a swoop, a U swoop that comes around to create the giraffe's belly. And it's up to you how big you want your giraffe's belly to be. Mine was a few fingers wide. And then we'll start adding the legs. When you do this, you're going to be doing a line for the one side that's closest to you that's kind of a rainbow shape, a curved line and a straight line. And then you're going to create another curved line and another straight line that mimic the first ones that you put there. So a curve and a curve, and a straight line and a straight line, and then you're going to add your little hoof there. If you want to kind of add that angle boned type bump, you can, or just draw some lines that go downward. And then you're going to add a line that's kind of kicking out, or creating some kind of movement some way. So you decide how far out you want your giraffe's leg to kick, and you're going to repeat that same process with 2 curved lines and 2 straight lines that sort of follow each other or are kind of parallel to each other. Check with your finger to make sure that the spaces are not too skinny. You can always go and make corrections anytime you need. So here mine got a little wider than I preferred, so I'm just gonna quick fix it up till I like it. And then you will add little lines on your hooves, kind of to show where the hoof stops and starts. Then we will go up a little higher and we're going to add some arms, or I guess the front legs. And I'm creating sort of an L shape, and my lines are following each other. So an L and an L to create my arm. And I'm making sure yet again that it's not too skinny. You don't want these to be super tiny. Add your little hoof to the end, and when you add your arms, think about which direction you would like them to go. They don't have to be going the direction mine are. Maybe you would like another one going out forward. Think about the silly dance moves that your giraffe might be doing. And once again, you're just adding those lines that kind of mimic each other. And then you'll go and add a tail, and that tail can be going whatever direction you want. Maybe it's showing a little bit more movement than mine is, and that's okay. Then erase any unwanted lines before you add Sharpie. After that, grab a black Sharpie marker to retrace all of the pencil lines you decide to keep, blacken in the hooves, add some spots, color in your giraffe with crayon very carefully. And that's all there is to it. When your background and your giraffe are complete, you're ready to attach your giraffe. So what I like to do first is cut kind of close to my giraffe a bubble cut is what I like to call it, and not quite next to the black line yet. The reason I do this is because it's a little bit easier to get in those close spaces when I don't have all that extra paper in the way of my hand. Then when I'm done doing the bubble cut, I'll go and cut right next to that black line. Be sure not to cut it off, but you're cutting right next to it and cutting very slowly and carefully, especially in those very, very small areas. When you're all done cutting it out, you'll flip it over and you're going to add small dots of glue to your giraffe. Remember, there's that little piece in there, so when you put your glue cap back on, be careful not to break it off. It is so important to use small dots on this project because otherwise this little piece of paper, this giraffe you've created, becomes very heavy and it's not very easy to turn over. Really focus on gluing the small areas like the little horns, the ears, the tail, and things like that. Then go ahead, carefully flip your giraffe over and place it down. I like to just gently press with my fingers, and then I flip my entire paper over and rub the back to help really spread out the glue and make sure it's on there very securely. Once it's glued, go ahead and place it on the drying rack.